All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the RationalInvestor.co's daily brief. We're doing a little bit of a transition here, so please be patient with us. Looks like we're live on YouTube, so that's awesome. Alex, as we've been sort of talking about over the past week or so, is slowly going to transition into being sort of the formal host of this daily brief. So, Alex, I want to, and now, Alex, you've got to practice your hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rational. You think you're gonna do it?
Yeah, I'll practice that for sure. Yeah.
Anyway, good morning, everybody. We got an action-packed episode here for you. And as I said, we're going to be slowly making this transition. But Alex officially launched this show today, and he is controlling the screen share and the and who's presenting. So if you do see the YouTube page is kind of messy, we're on the wrong screen or something, the meows and stuff all should be directed towards Alex. And of course, he's labeled as Brian Beamish. So we'll get this sorted out one day. And it's actually interesting because Alex sent me a message from, I think it was Lincoln, who said he had actually suggested there might be an alternative for us to use a different service. And just your feedback for Lincoln, Alex, I showed that to the boys, and actually Seward was really impressed with that platform, and just wondering whether we can do a trial. So maybe over the next month or two, we'll work on just giving them a test drive, okay?
Yeah, we'll have a look at that.
Yeah. Just before we get going in earnest, and of course, Mr. Bear is here this morning. How you doing, Mr. Bear?
Hey, it's an honor to be here with everyone.
Awesome. It sounds like he's doing good. And we were debating whether we were going to do sunny side up, poached, or scrambled this morning, right?
Yeah, I'm actually making eggs right now. What do you want?
I want a double yolk. Doubles.
Sure.
Anyway.
I'll serve you a side of cauliflower, deep fried for
there
you.
You go. For us West Coast tree huggers. Inside joke, everybody. So but here we are, and before we get going, actually it's interesting, Dav, you made it here. Somebody in the lounge this morning was looking for you specifically, so I don't know whether you can scroll through that, but if the person who was looking for Dav happens to be watching right now, he is here. Give him a shout out in the lounge, and you can chew his ear if you want. I can't remember specifically who it was, but somebody was looking for you. So thank you very much for stopping by, sir. Before we get going in earnest, one of our site members had a horrific hack over the weekend, I guess, it looks like on balance he's got things sorted out. So he dodged a bit of a bullet. But he asked me specifically to give a big shout out to the community, people like Andrew, top notch, like really knows his shit. Shane, our resident security expert. Thomas, of course, excellent feedback on security issues. Just everybody. And, half of the reason why we do this, guys, is because, half of the reason why I did this was because I wanted this nice, safe sort of, like I like to use the term incubator, just a nice, safe environment, a nice community where we can all work together to help each other and you're not feeling like somebody's fucking you over. So, Thomas, I did get your message. I wanted to just reiterate, he asked me to give a formal thank you to the community for helping him out. And you guys really stepped up. I was really impressed with the way everybody just sort of was like, oh, that sucks, man. Okay, maybe try this, try this, try this, try this. And I think Thomas on YouTube there, he says everything looks good now. So fucking A. And a big thank you and a big shout out to this awesome community. I love this community. I got to tell you, after losing my wife, literally I lost faith in humanity. I lost faith in just interacting with other humans, and you people have restored my faith in humanity. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And every day that I get the privilege to come in here and be with you people and interact with you people. And if I can help you at all, please, that's what I'm here to do. We did this morning, and Joey's here. We did actually a really cool video trying to briefly explain Joey's rocket ship. What the hell is it? Spreadsheet. I remember I had to load the new one, eh? Let's see if I have it here. I think I have it here. There it is. So we spent about maybe 15, 20 minutes this morning doing up a video just basically explaining how Joey's spreadsheet works here. So I will put that video up on the site after we're done the daily brief this morning, and the links to this spreadsheet. And if anything, this should be a shout out to the community. I know, Grim. Could you hear it in me? Was it that bad? I'm sorry, guys. You really bring out the emotion in me. It's quite remarkable. I don't, it's fascinating. When I had my JoJo, I literally spent probably about 10, 20 years. I never cried. I never was emotional. I had to be sort of the solid person because JoJo had to deal with her issues. And of course, everybody knows Liam. And it's weird. It's like, since I've been working with you guys, I can let my guard down. And so, yeah, I do get a bit verklempt every once in a while. And I apologize if it sounds pussy-ish by me. But you really do bring the emotion out in me, and it's got to be a good thing. So, all right. So the point that I just wanted to make was we did a nice little 20-minute video explaining Joey's spreadsheet. Joey, there you are. I see you. You don't get into the daily briefs that often. It's like the middle of the night for you, so I apologize for keeping you up here. But I thought that was a great start, and look forward to everybody to we'll do a sort of an updated version. And when we walked through that video explanation, there were a couple things. I haven't put it up on the site yet, Dav, so hang in there. But there were a couple things that we could actually help Joey with, especially guys like you, Dav, that are really good at writing code and scripting and stuff. So let's work as a community and let's help Joey make this spreadsheet just bulletproof. And, let's make Joey rich, because I think Joey's onto something here. If we could polish up this product for him, we could turn him into like the authority for screening altcoins. And let's all make it a TRI goal to make Joey stinking rich. And of course, we'll all get rich along with it with the great ideas. So just wanted to give a shout out for that before we get going too much in earnest. As I said, Alex is slowly getting up to speed. So everybody bear with him. If these daily briefs are a little bit choppy for the next week, just hang in there. We had our issues the other day with only 10 people allowed in the Hangouts and all that kind of stuff. But Alex is kicking ass. And I'm really proud to have him on board. I get this privilege to meet these just beautiful human beings, and Alex is another absolutely incredible human being. So privileged to have him on board. So welcome officially on board, dude. And I think that's about done with my rants. Please understand, everybody, we are going to be slowly migrating to the Rocket Chat system. So I do know that. Dav, we've been waiting for, what the hell do you call it? The Pandora's Wallet or something like that. So we've been waiting for, just as long as we've been waiting for the new webpage, we've been waiting for Pandora's Wallet. So, let's look forward to that. And Dav, if you want to, if it looks like you have a nice piece of information for us to share to the community, Is this your product? Bitrex Exchange. Yeah, okay. So I tell you what, dude, why don't you make a plan? Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe in the coming week, make a plan to be a part of this, and we'll give you a 10, 20-minute window to give a nice formal presentation of what it is that we're looking at here. Is that agreeable? Do you think you can do that? Yeah, totally. Why not?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right, so let's look forward to that, okay? All right. So, that's sort of Brian's rant, a little bit of emotion there for you this morning. Big thanks, big shout out to this community. I absolutely love working with all of you people on a daily basis. If there's any way I can make your day any better, please reach out to me. I'll try my absolute best. Probably one thing that we really need to talk about here, and I've seen a few of these messages here recently, and that is people are finding that because they came into the space when Bitcoin was doing its crazy ass face rip up, and we were like, okay, well, we want to get into this space. So they ended up sort of dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin at a relatively high price and then buying their altcoins with that expensive Bitcoin. And now that we're finding that Bitcoin's come off, right, they're still banging out doubles on their altcoins, but they're like, hey, my dollar balance is down because I bought the Bitcoin. I bought the coin with Bitcoin. I'm going to fully acknowledge that this is not an easy situation to deal with. When Bitcoin goes face rip up and Bitcoin goes face rip down, my number one suggestion for all of you guys to try and sort of determine whether your investment idea is half decent is take a look at the coin versus US dollar, not versus Bitcoin. Remember, guys, I'm trying to, with the little old lady portfolio, I'm trying to build my Bitcoin balance. I want to get basically mine the altcoins for more Bitcoins. I'm a Bitcoin bull. I believe Bitcoin is going to be much higher down the road. So I am perfectly comfortable with just valuing sort of my performance based on the sort of raw net Bitcoins that I've accumulated. But I can completely understand that there are people that are like, hey, I'm banging out doubles, but on dollar terms, I'm losing money. What the hell? And should I maybe not convert back into dollars right away and book that loss? Well, I definitely think that's the appropriate idea. But what I would suggest you do, and this is about the only thing that I can really suggest, is just try and remove the Bitcoin price from your decision-making process. And so that's why I like people to look at the coin versus US dollar and decide whether you have W's and structure and divergence and location relative to dollar, not relative to Bitcoin. If I was in this situation, I wouldn't be in a big hurry. Everybody knows that I've been at this game forever, and I'm probably going to be at this game for another forever. There's no reason why I'm going anywhere. I am a long-term Bitcoin bull, so I'm not getting wrapped up in the short-term valuation swings of the portfolio. And long and short of it here, no doubt, guys, our crypto portfolio topped out at like 700 G's or something crazy like that, and now the portfolio is sitting at about 200,000-300,000. So the point here is that the whole market has come off. That's unfortunately what has to happen. If you are a crypto enthusiast, then this is just business as usual. You got to get used to the fact that this venture capital space is extremely volatile. And then also, too, once you've been through one of these cycles, you know how important it is to pay yourself and generate cash up top so that you can ride through these slumps and you're not going to get too wrapped up in the insane volatility of your portfolio. All right, so I just wanted to make a couple comments with regard to that, Steve. I do completely understand the position that you're in. My simple feeling is I'm a Bitcoin bull. I actually think, we did in January those long-term Foundation for the Study of Cycle guys, and they were calling for a pivot here mid-year. I actually think everything seems to be moving along that course of action. I love Shane's sort of analogy that this feels more like the 2013 correction in Bitcoin versus the 2014 correction. And I'm looking for Bitcoin to be back up at like $10,000 by the end of the year. I don't know whether we're going to hit Mr. Penis Eater's targets or not. But I want to be long crypto. So please understand that for a guy like Brian, I'm not cashing out. I'm really in no big hurry. I did take a whole bunch of profits up top, and we're sitting in a very large cash position. But I'm not getting wrapped up in the short-term minutia of the market. And my advice here is, if you can bang out doubles and just keep increasing your Bitcoin balance, I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. But I do fully appreciate that people in this space are like, this doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't make sense because Bitcoin just went through an absolutely insane face rip up. And sadly, a lot of people get sort of sucked into buying above $10,000 of Bitcoin. So now sitting at 6,000, you're like, what the hell? I'm sitting on almost a 50% loss. It's a tough lesson to learn, right? And I tried as hard as I could through last year to slow people down. I remember there was one lady that came to us at like $1,000, $2,000 of Bitcoin. And I was like, we're in the end of this cycle. I have no idea where the top is, but I really wouldn't recommend people in the public go in and just load up. And, they were feeling great when Bitcoin was up at 10, 20,000. Brian, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And now, of course, they're crying in their beers. So it's a tough lesson to learn in the markets. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. And unfortunately, when we use an asset like Bitcoin to base our value off of, well, if that asset is extremely volatile, I've told you guys before, the number one way for the 1% to make sure that Bitcoin does not become adopted is to inject this insane volatility in the market. So exactly this kind of scenario happens. Ideally, if we want Bitcoin and crypto to be accepted, ironically enough, we actually want a good chunk of this volatility to come out of the market. While the volatility is still here, you have to understand the landscape that we're working in, and this is part of the game. And as I said to start off this conversation, the very best way that you can try and avoid this is don't look at your coins in Bitcoin value terms. Look at your coins in US dollar value terms because it's relatively stable. Okay, wanted to have that conversation with you guys. It was needed to be had, and of course, we'll continue having this conversation. Probably, like I said, on the Broiler Chicken show over the weekend, probably for the next 6 months, we're going to be sort of, okay, PMA, let's build our plan. Let's understand the context of the market. Let's understand this is a marathon, not a sprint, yada, yada, yada. So, okay, that was a big, long rant. I'm sorry, everybody. Okay, Mr. Bear, the floor is yours. Where do you feel like taking us today?
Hi. We'll start out with equities quickly. I don't want to spend too much time. I do want to spend the majority of what's remaining on crypto. The highlights are pretty simple. Stock market's kind of trying to climb back up. Major headlines include things like Elon Musk farting. I don't know why that made a headline, but
that's got to be a market moving event if I've ever heard of one.
Farting unicorn causes kerfuffle between Elon Musk and artist. All right, glad we covered that. A new data breach here in the United States happened by a company called Exactus. They leaked about 340 million records. Nothing with social securities or credit cards, but they did leak information like your name, whether or not you're a smoker, what kind of animal you own, your religion, and personal interests. And they're saying that this contained data for almost every single American individual. The implications here, well, we saw what happened with Equifax. They barely got a slap on the wrist. So I would assume the same thing will happen here. I did see, though, that
there was some insider trading shit that happened with that Equifax recently, though, eh?
Yeah, the CEO schmuck sold all their stock before they released the information about the hack.
Yeah, and I saw that the SEC just dropped a ton of bricks on them or something.
Yeah, whoopie-doo, a fine. They should be serving jail time. They should get the DOJ involved, but too big to get prosecuted, I guess.
All right. Just before you jump too much further, we did have a conversation this morning in the lounge about options expiry. So I just quickly went and grabbed the heaviest open interest puts and calls, and it looks to me like there's incentive for the boys to get the stock market up into this sort of, if they can get the market up into this 275 area by Friday, I think they hit a home run. So, just added a conversation piece. I really don't think they have any interest whatsoever in letting this thing go out below 270, and you can see that's sort of where we are now. I wouldn't be surprised to see over the next day or two they magically come up with some reason for the stock market to rally here. Wouldn't surprise me. So just that's my thought there.
Yeah, and we've been talking about how we expect S&P and Dow to go back up into this area toward the highs before rolling over. So that would make sense into Friday, and then of course next week we've got the cycle guys' big target of July 3rd for rollover or sell-off rather. And interestingly, the VIX continues to move higher. It's sitting at about 18, and I believe yesterday it was like 14 or 15 and change. So this thing continues to climb up and leave me behind. So I'm not able to get into this trade because it was too expensive when it was down. So I can only imagine what this thing is right now when it's at my target. So missed that boat. But the Twitter trade that we gave you guys earlier in the week seems to be rocking away. I did end up buying some puts on this, so that's working its way downward. Tails are definitely piercing and leading the way forward here. And the usual suspects with commodities and currencies seem to be following the same trend that they were yesterday. Gold down, euro down, and dollar moving slightly higher here. And I think that's all from me. Oh, there is one more headline, and that is Jeff Bezos became a pharmacist. Amazon is looking to get into the pharmacy industry. So they are...
Is his head really that big, or did they distort that?
Well, this is what happens when you become a pharmacist. You take all these drugs and your head blows up like a balloon.
Okay.
No. This is a Photoshop. He is not a pharmacist. Someone just put his head on there. I mean, his head is pretty big, actually, come to think of it. I wonder what it looks like normally. This is a huge waste of time.
I didn't know whether he went on like a starvation diet or something like that, but his head looks disproportionate. Something doesn't look right about him. Anyway, I'm just being silly.
He's an interesting looking dude.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Well, and have you ever heard him laugh? He's got the weirdest laugh in the world. But anyway, we're getting a bit off topic here.
Yeah. So Amazon has acquired a startup company by the name of PillPack that caters to Americans who use prescription medication daily. And Amazon's acquisition of this company is being perceived by the broader market as them entering the pharmacy field. So I guess we've always been kind of worried about Amazon going into whatever sector they want because they're so big and they've got the manpower and innovation behind them. We saw them get into the food delivery service and a whole bunch of other things, and now they're getting into pharmacy. So maybe down the line, instead of having to go to CVS or Walgreens or Rite Aid or whatever, you can just get your medications delivered to your doorstep. And then it would be even better if there was an incentive program for patients to be able to get access to prescription drugs without having to pay ridiculous premiums on their insurance plans here in the US. I think if there was a definitive need in the healthcare sector for prescription drugs, it's that, and Amazon could certainly help fill the void and offer relief to patients who can't afford things like that. And I mean, they could use it as a huge tax write-off, but the broader market here has perceived this as a huge threat to pharmacy stocks. So Walgreens is down almost 10%, Rite Aid also, and CVS. So they're getting a little worried because, of course, Amazon threatens any brick and mortar business, and those pharmacy companies are definitely brick and mortar. So interesting development
too, because we had an RSP meeting last night, and I think it was, I want to say Will, but I can't remember just off the top of my head. But he was looking at HCA, if I'm not mistaken, and it just got its fucking lunch handed to it. And so you can see this thing's just gapping violently lower. It's interesting how they took this thing to new highs. I don't know whether you can see my chart or not. but they took this thing to new highs. And we were sitting in the meeting last night and wondering how this top was going to play out here. But actually now they just sort of outright collapse in price here actually makes a lot more sense. Maybe these guys are starting to shit their pants about Amazon. And also, too, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Amazon and Microsoft and I even think maybe even Google, they're trying to rework the healthcare system in the United States for their corporations, and they'd like to transfer once they've sort of built this thing out to the nation. And I was listening recently to some interesting conversations about the healthcare industry in the States, and they always like blame it on, oh, well, the reason why the costs are so high is because of administration or because of administration. What the hell does that mean? And then I heard a guy the other day go, well, you know what administration means? It means there's just a shitload of middlemen in the U.S. healthcare system. And the reason why the costs are so high is because, we've talked to you guys about the unleaded gasoline industry. The crude oil people sell their crude to the refiners. And then, the refiners refine the product and sell it to the wholesalers at a markup, i.e. middleman. Then the wholesalers sell it to the retailers at a markup, i.e. middleman. And then finally, the product gets sold to the retail at a substantially higher price because of all these markups and middlemen. And so it's really interesting. I heard somebody, and I haven't heard anybody me personally, I've never heard anybody talk about this before, but they actually broke down the health insurance industry in the United States, and they pointed out all the different middlemen and all the different markups. And the reason why healthcare is so expensive in the States is because there's a lot of leeches that just simply live off of the markup of the capitalist system. I thought that was fascinating. So I'm wondering whether, them getting into the pharmaceutical sector, this news about Microsoft and Amazon and Google creating this new healthcare system that's going to try and break apart this sort of, monopoly in markup and middlemen. I wonder if maybe, I suppose you could argue, just like crypto, this is becoming a disruptive sort of influence on our society, and it's sort of breaking apart all these old sort of, I don't know what you'd call them, kind of like us when we bitch about the banks, right? And the 1%, the way that they control it. Well, the healthcare industry works almost the same way, So interesting observations. And yeah, I think you're right. These healthcare stocks and retailers, they have cause to be concerned because here comes Amazon disrupting some more of our classic economic model. All right. Sorry, went off on a rant there again. Jeez,
great point. You're totally right about all that. And you're spot on with the consortium of JP Morgan, Google, Microsoft coming up with their own kind of health insurance marketplace for themselves. It's going to be kind of a crazy time moving forward for healthcare once this thing comes online, and whether or not they'll actually give it to the public to be able to enroll. My guess is not until they figured it out on their internal side and then figured out how to make it cheaper than the larger health insurance companies and still profitable for them. So maybe they'll form their own company. But either way, this is certainly an industry, like you said, that needs disruption. And I welcome Amazon coming in to uproot that industry as well.
Yeah, well, this is sort of right down your alley. You love this kind of stuff, right? So you'd probably be able to give us sort of an insider's perspective of how bad the markup system is in the healthcare industry.
Well, I mean, I was in the medical field for a while, and it's a mess, and it still is a mess. And without getting too into it, I could speak for almost every physician that we would be so happy not to spend more than 75% of our day on the phone with an insurance rep who barely holds a high school degree that's arguing with me about whether or not my patient with cancer needs a chemotherapy for their cancer, and that they won't approve it, but instead will approve, fucking oxycodone or something, some other prescription pain medication. So they get addicted to the stuff, and then they keep the money machine rolling for themselves, generating profits by the prescriptions to that pain medication. It's so screwed up here. It's painful sometimes, but I won't get too much more into that.
All right. So don't ask leading questions about the medical service field to Thomas.
But so you did
I'll
ask
make
me
a mental note of that. I don't want you to get you emotional here.
It was a frustrating time. I mean, I was literally on the phone with these guys for hours upon hours. But you did ask me to comment about pharma stocks.
Yeah.
And
Well,
what those look
okay.
like.
So that's a slightly different conversation. I'll just give you a lead in there. And actually, we had a few people ask, but I'm a big fan of sector rotation, and we just want to listen to the market with energy. And we should also make a reference to this too. Graham is just fucking owning this market. You son of a bitch. Way to go, man. I love it. Beautiful. And just such a great testament to patience and discipline. And just, he trades his setup, and he's just, forget about your opinion. People are telling you crude's going to zero, crude's going to the moon, whatever. Just trade your fucking setup and live with your setups. So again, big shout out to Mr. Griminator. Well done. But the point that I would just make here is it does look, as we're heading into the end of the quarter, that the money is flowing into the energy sector. So if that's the case, according to our first 2 weeks sort of thesis, it was the case that we were looking for energy to outperform. That means we're at the top of the cycle. And we should be thinking about, okay, investing in energy right now doesn't make sense, right? You don't want to chase this bot. This is a lot. You don't want to go and buy here. That's just asking for trouble. So the question is, where is the smart money looking for opportunities? And what's interesting is, if you believe in the sector rotation thesis, we should actually be looking for our next ideas in the next sector of the economy that should do well. Fed's raising rates, market top, or right up at the top of the cycle. Obviously, tech is now floundering a bit here. And of course, just like we talked about with Twitter, and there's a whole bunch of different tech stocks that we're looking at. You heard me talk about the Canadian tech sector looks like a train wreck, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to be hunting setups there. Where do we want to be hunting setups? According to the sector rotation guys, we should be concentrating in consumer staples and healthcare. And I even heard analysts the other day on things like CNBC and Rob TV here in Canada and stuff, saying specifically that, they are shopping in this sector. So I happened to, just before we started today, I happened to pull up the, now, what does Mr. Bezos do to the healthcare sector, on balance? Maybe that's going to be an overriding disruptive force. But I heard analysts saying that the places that they're shopping right now to put new money in the market are, can you guys see that the consumer staples, they've gotten their asses kicked, through 2018. They've just done absolutely horribly. So, we should be shopping, reload zones, all that kind of fun stuff for things like Campbell's soup, Tide laundry detergent, Clorox bleach, blah, 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 blah. And then I thought it was really interesting when we pull up the healthcare sector fund again. Year to date, these guys have gotten their asses kicked. This has been a horrible year for healthcare. And now we're basically down at the bottom of range, and you can see this big old W here. So, shopping wise, I think we ought to really keep a close eye on healthcare names. And as they come down into these areas, we ought to think about, economic cycle, where who's going to outperform going forward. And so I actually really like the idea that somebody in the lounge this morning was like, Thomas has, been watching his pharma names. Can you make a comment about any pharmaceutical names that you might be interested in at this point? You don't have to give us picks, but I definitely like the idea of us, starting to think about where we can have some money working in the pharma sector. All right. Whew, that was a mouthful. Sorry, guys.
Thanks for the intro.
There you go. Boom, boom.
So pharma, I love pharma. I think it's almost like altcoins. You just pick something that looks like it's coming down to a reload zone, use your same reasons that you would otherwise use for your altcoin trading plan. And it's pretty simple. You could sell half on a double if you want. I mean, the world's your oyster in this sector. I think that even if the entire sector isn't going to become hot or isn't going to be in the sector rotation, there are still names that you can pick. And I'm not going to pick specific names, but I will say that any pharmaceutical company that's getting into formulating marijuana to treat patients for pain, epilepsy, whatever it may be, or even formulating CBD for rapid delivery. There's tons of these companies popping up. Like, for instance, yesterday, one company it's the first approved marijuana treatment that actually contains real cannabinoids and not synthetic ones for patient treatment. So that would be a company you could look into, and you just want to look to buy at the bottom end of ranges. Like, for instance, there's a couple of other ones that are getting a lot of attention here because of Canada approving marijuana and making that legal in the coming months. So I think that's an interesting idea to go through and try to pick stocks like those, because I would assume those are going to outperform here in the shorter term, now that this is like an emerging field and an emerging treatment. There's a couple of other ones. I mean, I was involved in the field, so I know how to read through some of the studies and figure out what's going to be approved, what's not going to be approved, to a reasonable degree of success. I mean, some of this stuff can be a crapshoot unless you're sitting on the investor calls. But if you do want to get into pharma and you have a science background, you got to read through some of the studies and the press releases. But if you can comb through that stuff and do your research, it's just as fruitful as it is going through the altcoins, reading the white papers and figuring out what's actually going to be useful in the space. So that would be my advice without picking specific names.
When I was a broker, we used to always watch for phase 2 clinical trials. That was sort of the big sort of thing that we'd want to watch for. Do you watch those clinical trials?
Yeah, I generally pay attention to all 3 phases. I like to see good data coming out of phase 2, but especially, phase 3 for me is the most important, because that's kind of the later portion of the study. And you start to get more and more patients enrolled, and you start to figure out whether or not there are any side effects, how well this therapeutic may or may not work. And you can get a good idea of the approval process based on that preliminary result.
Everybody here, what should you have, Axel? What should you have in front of you every time you watch one of these crazy daily briefs? Because you might just hear something you've never heard before. Thank you, Keith. Sounds to me like Mr. Bear just gave you something for the journals. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
It's worth noting too, just in reference to the discussion we had earlier about Bren, when you were talking about people's portfolios in crypto and how they're looking pretty anemic at the moment, right? I made a killing last year on pharma stocks, in particular these pot stocks, and I did it all with a sell half on a double strategy, which means I'm holding a lot of these stocks. And that means when you're holding a lot of equities like that, when the cycle comes back around and that dips down, your portfolio value drops. That's expected. And you just have to kind of weather the storm on that. It's going to happen cyclically as you go through the market.
Hopefully those are like free look positions, eh?
That's they are. But when you look at like the dollar value of the account, it's misleading, right? You're like, oh, looks like my portfolio is going down when the stocks are going down, but they're free positions, right?
Yeah, like that's a very good point. Like Thomas's chart here. The broader stock market is basically going nowhere. It's sideways, but this thing year to date, it's down 50%. That's a pretty big drop. So you can see the sector rotation happening in front of us here. Do we wait for cute little W's? I see that kick-ass little W there on your chart there, Thomas, from back in like September, October. Do we wait for a cute little W to come in to pull the trigger? You could. You can at the point where you're actually like, okay, I'm really interested in this now. I'm going to pull up my chart, find my 3 reasons, yada, yada, yada. The point here is that I think, as good market participants, we actually have to be thinking about, okay, what does the future portend? And don't tell me about yesterday's stories. I want to know about tomorrow's stories. And I like the idea of hunting in this pharma sector, hunting in the consumer staples sector, not thinking about the way the economy looks today, but thinking about what's the economy going to look like in 6 months, And of course, if the cyclicals and the big tech names and stuff and financials, if they take a shot in the arm, maybe a punch in the nose through the fall, people will run into the pharma names to try and protect themselves in that time period. So, all right, so excellent pieces of knowledge for everybody for their journals today. Little bit sort of unrelated to crypto, but an interesting sort of way it actually is related to crypto in a way, because one could argue that the pharma names, they are, in days gone by before we had crazy ass crypto, and I'm not really showing anything on my screen here, Alex. I'm just blabbing. But Thomas's pharma stock down 50% year to date. Probably a lot of crypto people are sort of feeling that same pain. And ironically enough, in days gone by before, crypto, we used to use pharma very much like the crypto space. Everybody knows the Schreckle story, right? And how insane, pharma stocks can be. So they used to be like biotech back in the 80s. That was just the buzzword. Everybody was investing in biotech because it was as hot as crypto is now. And I wouldn't be surprised in the years coming, especially if we head into recession, biotech sector will probably come back in really, really strong. So, okay, good conversation there today about stock market. Where should we head on over to crypto? Because I know you wanted to talk quite a bit about crypto, Thomas. So, no more stock talk today. Let's singing time. I tried to put that to bed the other day, but I guess I gotta do it every damn one, right? Oh, Bitcoin tastes great. Bitcoin. All right, what you got for us, Thomas?
I think Alex needs to start singing that too. You guys could do like a duet.
Now you're just digging us a deeper and deeper pit here.
I bet Alex has a great voice. I feel like he's been a professional or amateur singer at one point.
Well, you know what his song is? Springtime for Alex and Tiara.
That was certainly not on the job portfolio,
Anyway, I think Brian's the only one who's going to embarrass himself with the horrible singing. I wouldn't force that on any of you. All right, where do we want to go next, sir? Ethereum looks like it's perking up here.
Well, there's really important news. They're going to have the most professional speaker in crypto on CNBC. He knows everything about crypto. He's going to tell you exactly where to buy, where to sell, what's going to be successful. And his name is William Shatner.
Oh, no. No. Oh, just as oh, Jesus. Okay.
Isn't it incredible? We're going to, we were laughing in the lounge. His name is William Shaltner. He's going to talk about some Shalt coins.
But a book. Good one, Shaltner. That's good. All right. What the hell does this guy have to say about crypto? I've never really heard him talk. Is he really? Does he know anything about crypto?
Honestly, it's the first time I've ever heard about him and crypto mentioned in the same sentence.
Oh, well, crazy world. All right. So maybe this will mark the bottom. Not. All right. So Mr. Shatner's going on popular. And I thought that the CNBC guys were going to end all their crypto talk. It would, to be perfectly honest, it would be in our interest if those idiots would just go away. But anyway.
That'd be nice.
All right. What are we looking at here? MasterCard's getting in on the business?
MasterCard they won a patent for anonymous blockchain transactions, which is, I mean, for me, a little concerning because I didn't know you could patent things like that. And they've earned patents for blockchain in other sectors, not just for privacy, but MasterCard wants to, or they have now, they are holding a patent for the ability for people to transact on the blockchain anonymously. They're going to make their own blockchain that's held on a third-party server. And the reason for the anonymous blockchain is because they don't want their husbands or wives to know if they're buying each other gifts and to be able to find that out with the public ledger. So their idea is that if you make it anonymous, that only the company will know about it, and anyone who wants to look at those transactions can actually see who bought what. and they got a patent for this, which is really weird, and that's really all there is to it, that the US Patent and Trade Office is handing out patents for blockchain. So this could potentially be an issue for actual crypto. MasterCard highlights that they are not using cryptocurrency for the blockchain, and it's just a blockchain. So that's why it's different than the crypto industry, but yada, yada, yada. How this impacts the space could be an issue again, because if you're holding a patent for a blockchain, especially a privacy blockchain, how does that impact things like Monero and Zcash and the other anonymous coins? And that's going to be the question going forward. Can they actually be sued by these patent trolls because this patent was awarded? And I'm not an expert on this. I'm just bringing this up because of that potential issue. And maybe it's not an issue. Someone feel free to correct me. But that's the news for that. And then there's
interesting, because when we had Joey on this morning, Joey said that there's some big fundamental event happening for Zcash here shortly, isn't there?
I'm not up to speed. Maybe someone else knows about that, but I didn't see any articles about Zcash making any headlines.
Joey, what was that reference on your spreadsheet? You have a microphone, Joey? I don't know whether you can hear or not. But anyway, you know, when we look, there he is. What's on your mind, sir?
Give me a sec to look it up, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. See, that's the problem with contributing, is I might just actually call you out to try and help us. Oops.
The last thing I just want to cover before we go into technicals is something nice and heartwarming from the crypto space that you don't see very often, and that is philanthropy coming out of Coinbase's Brian Armstrong. He's starting an initiative called GiveCrypto.org, which is going to be their own charity platform where people can donate cryptocurrency through this platform, and they'll give it to people in need. They don't specifically state where it's going to go or who it is, but they're going to eliminate the middleman, so they'll be able to donate as much as possible. There is a clause that they say that if you're going to donate more than 25,000, that you have to opt in to donating the entirety of that 25,000. So for instance, if you do donate that or more, part of that will go to funding GiveCrypto.org's platform to help keep it running. So it's kind of nice to see out of this space that someone's looking to be charitable, and it's not just about raising money and making your ICO the next biggest thing and starting a fund and getting rich and rich and rich. And that, you know, this guy's Brian Armstrong's trying to bring some good to the space. Now, I'm just wondering if this is his way of getting a huge tax write-off, but nonetheless, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it's nice of him to be looking to help out those in need in his space and industry that has so much money flowing through it. So that's...
Yeah, I hate this kind of stuff. You know, like you go to like McDonald's and stuff, and they have these like, oh, donate to charity. You know, the wheelchair fund, put a loonie or a buck or something in. And then what these corporations do is they aggregate all that money and they get a tax deduction for that. It's very, very morally corrupt, in my opinion, because in Canada, if you make a charitable donation less than $5, you don't get a tax deduction. So in essence, it's a way for McDonald's and all of these major corporations. You see it everywhere. Like if you go to Walmart every damn time, and the goddamn cashiers are told, "Oh, would you like to make a $1 donation to breast cancer research or whatever?" And it's a bit of a scam. So I was very sad when I saw corporations go down this road. It'd be interesting to see what this gentleman's motivations are here. But having said that, if we can help out people that are in need, I suppose that's a good thing. So,
agreed. Brian, do you have any waves?
Reference here before you jump in? Benjamin in the lounge says that Shatner, quote, this concept is so, I guess the word is bizarre, Kirk, alter ego, William Shatner said by phone Wednesday. You have to blank your mind and say, what, blockchain again? How does mining operate again? The concepts are really strange, and yet when you begin to grasp it, it makes sense. Thank you for that reference, Benjamin. He posted that in the lounge. He also posted ZEC, I guess. Of course, I click on the link and it kills my Hangout page. Wonderful. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to copy this somehow. Can you guys hear me? Am I back? I don't know whether I'm even here.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Sorry about that. Let's just throw up this. Benjamin, with regard to Zcash, I guess this is the latest fundamental driver. I'm not quite sure. But thank you, Benjamin. I just wanted to give you a shout out. Benjamin, he is sort of like a silent contributor on the site. Benjamin contributes and adds to the site so much, and yet he's relatively quiet. We don't hear him come on and talk too much on the Daily Briefs, but I wanted to give everybody big props to Benjamin. He's a core member of the TRI family. And you can see him in the lounge posting stuff away. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Before we moved on, I just wanted to give a special shout out to you. So thank you. And he gave us that little Zcash link there. So enjoy. Okay, Brian's blabbing away again. Sorry, guys.
Do you own any waves, Brian?
Yeah, I got some waves because I remember I did those shows for them years ago.
You are now obligated to get this haircut.
Oh, fuck me.
If you own waves, you must get this haircut. Otherwise, you are not allowed to hold it. So when I come see you at the end of the month, you better have this on the back of your head.
Yeah, what do you think the odds of that happening are?
Well, I don't know. Maybe Shane can get you drunk enough to get it done.
Shane, you better get that damn moonshine out.
Tell you what, Shane, you get him drunk enough, I'll pay the bill for the haircut.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, Brian's gonna be. Remember, I'm supposed to be going on vacation here, right?
Suddenly,
Yeah.
Brian's European trip becomes a little more solidified.
Yeah. Oh. Good one, Graham. Good one. All right. What's the deal with waves other than the funny haircuts?
That's it. I just wanted to bring that up. I thought it was important to note that you need a new haircut if you hold waves. But let's jump into technicals here. I don't see solid trades across these markets right now. There's a lot of convergence with the indicators as opposed to the classical divergences that we hunt. And for me, that just means that the market's trying to get its shit together. And it's going through a phase change because we've seen a lot of divergences come in over the last few weeks. And even on the lower time frames, I've been able to hunt divergences to take trades, but now they're not coming in anymore. And to me, I mean, right now we've got this potential divergence on the 30-minute, but not a big deal. This is probably the first one that I've seen in the last 12 hours or so. But this means that the market state is changing. So we've been doing nothing but declining. So does that mean that we could potentially start moving upward?
Yeah, I like that thinking. That's that. Again, people, get that damn journal out. What Thomas just said there is gold. And actually, only a veteran could really pick up on that. That's brilliant stuff, dude. Because I actually put out a tweet today. I said, I don't know what's happening, but you can definitely feel. You guys have heard me talk about coils before. Something is building here. And actually, I do kind of like the idea that we've been going down for probably a good couple months now. And I also noticed, too, on like the 15-minute chart, I noticed that there are just stop washes everywhere. Get the fuck out longs. Get the fuck out shorts. Get the fuck out long shorts, right? They're just doing it back and forth. You can feel that they're washing this market out. So that's a brilliant comment that Thomas just made there for you people.
Thanks. It's pretty incredible to watch these things set up here. I've actually noticed now, this just happened an hour ago. If you look to my right side where I have these symbols here, I've got Ethereum, at the bottom, this is the OKCoin 3-month contract. And then here is the Ethereum US dollar Bitfinex contract. Now, since I've started religiously trading Ethereum and Litecoin, I've noticed that the Bitfinex Ethereum price has been higher than the Ethereum forwards price. So that means it's been backwardized. I don't know what happened in the last hour because I didn't watch it, but this is the first time where I'm seeing some contango, where the Ethereum forwards price is higher than the spot price. And that means that speculators are now saying that, you know what, in the future, this is going to be worth more. And I am happy putting money and paying a premium for this because I think it's going to be worth more in 3 months. And that's what we're seeing with Ethereum. Now, as far as Bitcoin, I haven't checked the spread, so let's go see what those look like. And maybe we are also in a state of contango as well, because we were backwardized for a good couple weeks. So right now we are in, I guess we've got an $18 premium. So we are in contango, but not with a considerable enough premium for me to get super excited about. This looks really messy still. I guess
the official rollover will be tomorrow, eh?
Yeah, so once this thing gets delivered, it's actually tonight. So at 3 a.m. Eastern time, or midnight your time, I guess, this whole fiasco, the 3-month contract, is finally done. It's been a long 3 weeks, guys. I'm frankly getting tired of seeing some of this action here. It's been exhausting. But it'd be nice if, you know, the players that get their deliveries tomorrow into tonight decide to buy into the 3-month contract long, and they're putting on long positions into the next 3 months. I don't see any evidence of that still. It still looks like, I mean, to me, it looks like the market's in no man's land. I mean, sure, the weekly looks really terrible, and the daily's kind of stuck between this OKCoin failure point where the liquidation issues happened. But I mean, we're in a reload zone, but nothing's happening. There's no divergence. As Brian was saying, this thing's coiling here. There's no market structure. There's no play to take on the daily just yet. This is certainly looking
I always
good.
say, though, there's an old adage in the market: never short a dull market. So I'm just, I just feel as though, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. The old adage is, write that down for your journals: never short a dull market. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of trades that are, a lot of price movements that are very violent. Like Brian was saying, stop runs, and you don't really see that happening in a market that's declining. They're not really stop runs. They're just like the market just dumps and dumps and dumps. But now, the last 24 hours, it's up, down, up, down, up, down. Clear out the stops, break out people's positions. And I think that means that the market's getting ready to move in the opposite direction. But there's no confirmation. There's no reason for that just yet, other than the anecdotal observation that I just made. An interesting.
Yeah, and they always say, volumes speak volumes. You see Thomas's cokehead down there at the bottom. If you start seeing that thing turn back up, nice little W. I guess there's OBV got a W. What we'd ideally like to see is a nice big green candle bar just come and bust out this pattern. So if anything, the worst part about this is this old sort of, you can't push a chain. We got to let the people that are really running this show play their hands. And right now, and it kind of sucks for the past week or two. It's just been sort of, okay, we got to wait for these guys to play their hands, show which direction they want to take us. And then we can act. Now, the great part about having people like Thomas and Graham and Ian, to a certain degree, Garrett, we have people on the site that can help you build like day trading plans to keep yourself active off of like the hourly and 30-minute charts. But the overall trend here, absolutely, I think we're just in we just got to cool our jets. We got to let the market establish a floor, put in a bottom, and then we can start getting raw. And if anything, what I wanted to just mention, like what I'm seeing while we're sort of waiting for this, is names will pop up really violently. But for heaven's sake, people, do not chase. So you remember yesterday we had MCO pop up, right? But you notice that MCO is actually one of the biggest losers today. So yes, we had a nice big rally. Do not chase these things. I still have my bids working off of the original market structure, and I'm more than happy just to sit and wait. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. But until the market actually plays its hand, we have to just basically wait for these bottoms to come in. And if you want to hunt, after the breakouts come, reload zone tags against original structural bottoms, that's perfectly fine. But I think it's dangerous to be calling bottoms through this period. And I think, Bitcoin is kind of like right through here right now. And we just have to wait. If this is a bull and they want to break it out, let them break it out. And then we can get all excited. All right. Sorry. Went off on another rant again.
That was perfectly, I like that. That's a great point to make. And I think that's really all there is to this market. I don't have any trades to give anyone here. I mean, maybe if you want to hunt a short on Ethereum 30-minute chart and this divergence confirms, you get a nice market structure top. Yeah, sure, you could probably get a nice little pullback here, but are you going to get a nice winner? Probably not. It's not going to be that big, but you can see that 38.2 is only $5 to the downside, and we've just kind of been flirting in this area. So we're kind of range bound in here.
So let's do another one of our lines painted off of those candle body lows, which looks to be just about 421 or so. And my hunch is that's probably, if you're hunting a long setup, that's probably the area you want to be hunting.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, that's.
So we do want to throw a horizontal line on that. Oh, and it's gone. Oh well. I throw a horizontal line off of your candle body lows there. It looks like it was. Oh, now I don't know where you're going. All right, forget it. We'll do it another day. Okay, how's your Litecoin looking these days? Because remember, we were kind of thinking that might be a little bit of a leading indicator here, eh?
I don't know what Litecoin's doing. I think that right now it's the same story with the rest of the space. It's just kind of in sideways consolidation. There's a little more movement on Litecoin. Tom had a really good trade last night where he went short off of the break of this market structure top, and his target, I think he either narrowly hit it or narrowly missed it, but I think he did pretty well on that trade. But not big moves here. $80, $82 down to 78 is roughly, I guess that's probably 30-40% at 10x leverage. So that was a nice little trade. But right now, a lot of mixed signals coming in today. I don't think the market has any idea what it wants to do, and that kind of speaks to the washiness that Brian was alluding to.
All right, so you have been forewarned, everybody. And if anything, like I said, I think if anything right now, just let the market break out. Okay, fine. We've established we're back into bull, and then we can start rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I would definitely watch your higher time frames for signals, which don't look like they're coming in anytime soon. MACD is not doing anything. Again, convergence with the market, right? You've got highs here, highs in the MACD, no higher high in price, but MACD made a lower high, so that's not a divergence either. And it's in convergence. The market's just trying to find a new cycle, a new energy to go forward. And I would just wait for your market structure breakouts and then wait for the MACD to come in. I mean, right now, maybe we'd have to see a huge pop in price, and then you'd get something like a daily divergence to confirm. And that's probably where the trade's going to be at going forward here. I mean, I don't see anything on the lower time frames, but the potential on the daily is most certainly there. You just have to wait for your market structure to come in here, and that's going to be a little bit. It's going to take some time. So the whole idea of this week being the reversal, I might be a little early to the party. Could we see that huge green candle upward that would confirm that divergence? And it would make it tough to get in. And I don't know if our lower timeframes would give us our entries, but that's pretty much what I think the market's waiting for at this point is, can we finally move higher? And if not, then it's just more dumpage. So wait and see is the problem. I mean, no trades for me right now. This market looks way too wishy-washy without any true direction. That's pretty much all I can contribute. So I'm sorry I don't have a good trade or a good direction for you guys, but that's just the way the market is right now.
But frankly speaking, that's really good stuff, because there are times in the market where the best thing for us to do is just wait.
Sit on the
Yeah,
hand.
I think sit on your hands is excellent direction at this point.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that's about 12 minutes past the hour. I think we've given you some good stuff to chew on. I know for certain I squawked a couple times about journaling today, some stuff that we gave you. So I think on balance, we're heading in a good direction here. And, you know, if the message of the day is just wait, well, then that's actually pretty good information. You know, on my screen here, you can see I like to follow, and I'll just use this Japanese. Actually, this is a Phoenix chart. Somebody was just asking, is it too early to nibble? Keep in mind, that's really a function of your trading plan. You know, off the higher time frames, you know, if you can think like longer term perspective kind of idea, you know, I really wouldn't have a problem if somebody just set themselves up. I think on the weekly chart, I did that the best, right? Set themselves up on a nibble Bitcoin plan with the thinking of reload zone entries, maybe like once a month, once every 2 months or whatever. You just go in and force yourself to nibble through reload zones. I think that's perfectly logical. Could we still see some more downside? Absolutely. And if anything, what we're talking about specifically here this morning is more, you know, do I have a trade where I'm expecting to make a nice profit on a short-term swing, call it a swing trade, if you will, in the market? I think we're a little bit early. So, you know, long and short of it here is they've taken the fluff out of the broader market. If you can, force yourself to go in and just nibble off of the bottom end of the range. And a lot of these altcoins are just right on their asses. If you can force yourself into a nibbling campaign through this, you know, we happen to have Any on the site here this morning. It was great chatting with him. And Kevin, you see him posting in the lounge, building his master nodes and stuff like that. If you can take advantage of depressed markets to build positions, then fucking A, man. You'll kick ass in the market. But you have to understand, could you sit there for 6 months while this market just flounders around? Sure. You want to try and time your purchases and be a little bit more, you know, hunting setups. And, you know, if the market's turned, then I'm going to ride with that wave. I think the message, as we just said repeatedly here this morning, is just cool your jets, you know, just wait for it. So I just saw somebody ask a little bit about that. You know, is it okay to nibble? Well, you know, weekly, higher time frames, I think nibbles are fine. But we haven't got sort of an inertial push that, hey, we're heading up, you better get in. So I think we're a little bit early for that. Okay, guys, I think why don't we leave it at that for today? Great contribution by everybody. I didn't hear a single person throughout this entire hour say that we had screen issues. So Alex is obviously kicking ass here. Thank you very much. Everybody give a big shout out to Alex for joining the team. And I can't wait to, you know, see the wonderful contributions he's going to make and, you know, see how this sort of evolves as sort of Alex part of the TRI family. I'm really looking forward to his contributions. Thomas, of course, on a daily basis brings it. I'm so proud and honored to have him as part of our team and just doing a great job day in, day out. Everybody here that's regular contributors, you know, Graham, part of the school team and just a trading demonstrator of best practices, beautiful stuff. I mean, you literally couldn't have a better role model to follow with swing trading and position trading. So, you know, I started off the broadcast with big hugs and kisses. Love this community. And I'm going to end this broadcast with big loves, hugs, and kisses to this community because you guys fucking rock. All right. So why don't we leave it at that? Alex, you want to take us out of here? You all have yourselves a great rest of your day. And bye for now.